Hello, welcome to the first webinar for Oklahoma Fine Arts from the State Department of Education. I'm Elizabeth Maughan and I am Director of Fine Arts here at the OSDE. Today's webinar, Positive Classroom Management for the Music Classroom, is primarily for elementary general music educators, but other levels and subject areas may find this information helpful. This is part 1 of 2, so be sure to check back in the future for part 2. Our presenter today is Jenny Potter. She is currently a doctoral candidate and a graduate teaching assistant at the University of Kansas, where she instructs undergraduate courses in elementary and secondary general music education, advanced general music, music integration for early childhood and elementary teachers, and supervises student teachers within the music education program. Before beginning her doctoral work at KU, Potter taught elementary general music for 7 years in 2 urban schools in the Kansas City, Missouri area. Her main area of research is focused on teaching underrepresented populations, primarily in the area of incorporating person-centered preventative classroom management strategies in the classroom. Potter has presented research at the Symposium for Music Teacher Education, the National Association for Music Education, the American Orff-Schulwerk Association, and the Kansas Music Educators Association. She is an American Orff-Schulwerk nationally certified teacher and also has experience from world music drumming. Potter has a Bachelor of Music in Clarinet Performance from Wichita State University, a Bachelor of Music Education from the University of Kansas, a Master's in Art Administration from the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and an EDS in Elementary Administration from the University of Central Missouri. Potter will be assuming a position as Assistant Professor of Music Education at San Diego State University in August 2019. Jenny, please take it away.
Welcome to Positive Classroom Management for the Music Classroom. So why do we need classroom management in our music classrooms? Like other teachers and other content areas, music educators have often expressed concern about and struggle with behavior problems, and we often feel challenged with respect to classroom management in the music classroom. Unfortunately, these struggles might lead us as teachers to feeling overly stressed, burnt out, or even worse, we often leave the profession. That being said, music teachers may experience different types of classroom management challenges due to our class sizes being larger, more classes throughout a semester. We have different pacing requirements, and there are constant demands of staying on task. Thus, I'm speaking to you today in order to share some of what I have learned over the years about positive classroom management in the music classroom. My hope is that this information might also help prevent teacher and student stress, teacher burnout, strengthen student-teacher relationships, positively impact school culture, and positively impact the surrounding community. So what is classroom management really? Classroom management is generally defined in terms of teachers' efforts to oversee the activities of the classroom, including student behavior, student interactions, and learning. Another definition of classroom management includes specific ways in which us as teachers organize and maintain our classroom environment conducive to effective learning and instruction, noting the actions that we take to facilitate learning. In addition, handling our students' behavior is often identified as a key aspect in order to maintain a productive learning environment. Furthermore, there are others who've defined classroom management as a set of actions that we as teachers exhibit to create a supportive environment for the academic and social emotional learning of our students. More specifically, teachers can demonstrate effective, high-quality classroom management when we develop caring and supportive relationships with our students, we're organized and we execute instruction to optimize our students' access to learning, we encourage our students to be engaged with their academic tasks using group classroom management methods. We promote our students' social skills and their self-regulation. And finally, we utilize appropriate interventions to help our students with behavior problems. Within the literature, there are basically 2 types of or approaches to classroom management. There's the teacher-centered approach, and then there's the student-centered approach. The teacher-centered approach to classroom management gives the ultimate authority in decisions regarding student behavior to the teacher. Within this model, classroom management appears to be based on the more traditional classroom dynamics of a power-based teacher control model. Within a teacher-centered classroom, the teacher exerts control over the students, and this control can come through systems such as very strict rules, routines, and punishments that were mandated rather than developed with the students. Unfortunately, though there are aspects of this model that are very effective, this approach may not account for certain factors that affect our students internally, such as emotional distress, traumatic events, certain academic struggles, or basically a general lack of comfort in our classroom. On the other side, the student-centered approach allows our students to have a role in the way their behavior is managed in our classroom by virtue of individualized plans to guide or regulate their behavior. This approach often includes peer collaboration and the development of guidelines with the teacher. In a student-centered classroom, we as teachers are interested in helping our students work out their problems, searching below the surface and testing out possible solutions or explanations to construct some kind of meaning. In a student-centered classroom, we as teachers might utilize classroom management strategies such as empowering our students in order to strengthen their sense of responsibility and accountability for their actions. So at the heart of a student-centered approach to classroom management is developing those interpersonal and meaningful relationships with our students, because positive student-teacher relationships are most likely to lessen the need for control and become the foundation for all of the other interactions in our classroom. As some of the studies I've mentioned define classroom management in terms of concrete teacher actions, others explained it as a more detailed and proactive process. In particular, several studies categorize classroom management as more of a system of preventive techniques that we as teachers can implement positively to impact the physical and social spaces of our classrooms in order to produce a classroom environment where effective learning can occur. So this positive approach to classroom management allows us as teachers to prevent disruptive behavior that might distract from instructional time. Within the process of proactive classroom management, we as teachers can focus on implementing strategies that hopefully prevent inappropriate behavior and promote positive behavior. Some specific preventive classroom management strategies might include creating an inviting classroom, developing a positive attitude among the students, using your physical proximity while you're teaching, using signals for certain behaviors, communicating your expectations clearly, and teaching the appropriate behavior. So focusing on proactive classroom management might actually assist us as teachers in creating positive learning environments in our music classrooms where we promote acceptable student behaviors and also build meaningful relationships with our students. So I have 3 specific preventive strategies that I'm going to walk you through. The first is called a verbal cue. This is when we're using our words to prompt our students' behavior before they take any kind of action. You might say, when I say go, when I give you the signal, or in a moment. So for an example, in an elementary general music class, your first graders are getting ready to sing the song Wake Me, Shake Me in a circle game. Before your students get into the circle, you might say, when I say go, you are going to calmly and quietly walk to the circle, face the center with your voices turned off and your hands to yourself. You may go. That means I've used all of my words to prompt their behavior before any of my students take an action so everyone understands exactly what's expected. The second strategy is called physical proximity. That's when we're using our body or our nearness to a student or a group of students. We're using our physical proximity as part of active supervision by taking 2 or more steps closer to a student or a group of students to try and prevent some kind of undesirable behavior. So for example, in a music classroom, you're teaching your 4th graders a new note on the recorder and 2 of your students tend to get very excited and talkative while you're giving directions. Using your physical proximity, you could walk towards those 2 talkative students while you're presenting your directions about the recorder to most likely prevent those students from talking while you're giving directions. The third strategy is called modeling the correct behavior. This is when we as teachers show our students exactly what we want them to do before we ask them to perform any kind of task. So for a last musical example, I might say to my third graders, I am going to put my hand drum away. Watch exactly what I do. Then I would show them I'm going to walk calmly over to the shelf. I'm going to gently put my instrument away. I'm going to calmly walk back to my seat and sit down. I'm asking my students to watch every part of my action before the whole group moves, which leaves little to no confusion about the exact expectation for that behavior. So is there anything that music lends itself to that we can do specifically in our classrooms beyond the 3 strategies that I just mentioned? I really believe that the content of our music classes in itself can be a powerful motivator and a manager for our students' behavior. So some specific examples for general music teachers is we can use musical content to help manage our transitions, such as we can sing a song while we're passing out scarves. We can perform a chant with body percussion as our students enter the music classroom. We could have our students silently keep the steady beat as they come into our classroom while they're listening to calming instrumental music. We can have our students sing tonal patterns with solfege while passing out whiteboards for a notation activity. Or we could allow our students to improvise rhythmic patterns while distributing instruments. These are all keeping our students focused while also actively making music, which limits their downtime. So when we're limiting our students' downtime, or without any kind of focused goal, they are more apt to remain engaged. So approaching our classroom management in this kind of proactive sense, it might help prevent disruptions, and then thus we accomplish more of our learning goals. That concludes part 1 of the webinar.